Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Enrose there, and this is my PowerPoint on copyright infringement. And I'd just like to take a moment of time to thank my PowerPoint advancer, Mike there. Slide, please. So, what exactly is a copyright? It's a term that we sling around, but it's kind of like a calorie. No one knows what it is. So, does anyone know? Yes.
I'm going to say basically it's someone having a patent on something that they've kind of created of their self or of their own.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. But I'll take your consideration as well.
A code of conduct.
It is it's a public code of conduct. Essentially, a copyright is a patent that an artist creates to authenticate their work. So it is a code of conduct for the public to follow, to not use their copyright against the artist, taking away their intellectual property. So what exactly does a copyright look like? So, slide please. This is a copyright, all works that were authenticated. So if you're going to the music store or the movies, on the DVDs you will see this, and that means that you cannot take their work for them. It's like plagiarism, essentially. So, slide please. Now, a lot of musicians have started to use the copyright ever since 1978 when the Copyright Act was drawn upon. And essentially, their work on or after January 1st, 1978, when it was drawn upon, you cannot use their work for their entire life plus an additional 70 years. So, for instance, Dr. Seuss's novels are used now in movies because his death is 70 years later. That is why we see holiday movies such as How the Grinch Stole Christmas or the ever so lovely Horton Hears a Who. But like I was saying, musicians have started to use this Copyright Act to ensure their intellectual property and to maintain profits, like Taylor Swift, for instance. Slide, please. So Taylor Swift has taken to trademarking these certain phrases in her trademarking these certain speeches, so no one will use them because a lot of vendors were sitting outside her concerts attempting to sell merchandise with these phrases on them. So, for instance, she trademarked "Party Like It's 1989," "This Sick Beat," "Cause We Never Go Out of Style," and "Could Show You Incredible Things." Now, you may be hearing these phrases and think, well, these are everyday phrases. I mean, my father may be making dinner, I'm like, that's a sick beat. But no, she means you can't use that on merchandise. It doesn't matter if you can say it out loud, it's fine. You just can't write it into anywhere. Now, certain artists have gone to the extremes, like Beyonce, who tried to trademark her own daughter's name, Blue Ivy, so no one else could use that name. However, her statement was retracted in the U.S. Court of Appeals because another company was already named Blue Ivy. Slide, please. So, copyright versus infringement. Now, Taylor Swift is notorious for not putting her music up for free on sources such as Spotify and Pandora. Instead, she puts her music on for sale in iTunes, which, if you're looking at iTunes, can be $129 per song, $12.99 per album. It gets expensive after a while. So some people resort, and I'll admit I do too, to Spotify and Pandora to get free music. But see, the difference is, Taylor Swift does not put her music on these sites. However, musicians such as The Weeknd puts his music available on Spotify. So what I am doing is not infringing. The artist can put their music on these free social sites to get their audience to purchase the 129 song. However, Taylor Swift doesn't want to give her audience the capability of that. She'd rather just get the profits immediately. So, and also, the biggest problem with infringement is that a lot of times people believe what they read on the internet. They see a movie site like movietube.com, YouTube on Fire, and they think, well, going to the DVD store, a movie is $12.99, $25.99 for Blu-ray, $16. It just adds up after a while, especially if you're filmy like me. And after after like 6 Star Wars movies, I mean, you can imagine how expensive that gets. So watching them for free, you think, oh, it's on the internet, it's okay. But here lies the problem, it's not okay. You have to read the website's information, and odds are, if the website has movies that are still in the theaters, it's probably not legal. So I would just encourage you, if you love movies like I do, if you love music like my father does, and want to continue hearing and watching these works, to not rely on infringing websites, because your movies won't be made the same. They'll have lower budgets, lower scales, and less paid workers. The actresses will just, I mean, you go from having actresses like Rachel McAdams to actresses that come from Pornhub. I mean, the scale just goes down. And copyright infringement, it's not a victimless crime. It is upon you to change the status of infringement. So does anyone have any questions? No? Well, thank you for listening, and I hope you learned a lot about copyright infringement. Woo!